Latest rage for kids is driving parents and entire neighborhoods crazy. It's called a whistle tip, and it's welded inside a car's muffler to make the car screechingly loud for nearly a mile.
Nearly every muffler shop in Oakland is installing whistler tips. It's a piece of metal welded inside the exhaust pipes that makes the car audible for almost a mile. Tell me about the whistles.
The whistles go whoop. When you want to whoop whoop, it's that whoop whoop. You know what I'm saying? Then you got the flows. They didn't trip out the flow masters.
That decoration, man. It's just for decoration. That's it. And that's all, man. We do it for decoration.
You have it on your car?
Yeah, I got it on my car.
Some neighbors are saying way too loud.
That's only in the morning. You supposed to be up cooking breakfast or something by then, so that's like an alarm clock. Woo woo.
Great sound, Jeff. Thanks for sending that to me today.
I believe that was a little bit and rubbed up of YouTube fame.
Oh, that was so great. Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is the Rhythm Section Podcast. That's Jeff Ward.
That's Derek.
And this podcast is for the Memphis music community, our way to help spotlight a very rich music city and surrounding area. We can be found on Facebook at the Rhythm Section Pod. And Jeff, where else can we go?
You're taking my mojo.
Stole your thunder.
Yeah, YouTube and all your favorite streaming platforms, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, and Pandora.
We are presented to you by SRP Studios in Hernando, Mississippi. Patreon. Sign up for that tip jar, $1 a month. Click the Patreon link for more information. Also, we have a link tree in our description. That will ultimately take you to every location where you can find us. Also, we have merchandise, everyone, and
Boba Cream
retail space that comes along with it. So go to Boba Cream for our shirts, hats, coffee mugs, and tumblers. Boba Cream is 131 West Commerce Street, Hernando. Go to msbobacream.com for more information. Check it out again. Shirts, hats, coffee mugs, and tumblers, and parental discretion is advised, everybody.
Not in Boba Cream,
No.
but here.
Boba Cream is a family
Yes, they are.
facility here. But Jeff Ward, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm great. We've had an amazing weekend. Lots to talk about.
It is pretty nuts. But first off, because we do have one hell of a story to tell.
Yeah, we do.
But let's talk about our guest today. It is Kory Myers.
Yes, it is.
Keyboardist for Tom Kiefer, Fifth Kind, Tom, Dick, and Harry. Does acoustic stuff with John Roth.
Yep.
We're going to get more into detail on that. But yes, Kory Myers is our guest today. All right. So we're going to flip-flop our weekend days here. Instead of going Friday, Saturday, we're going to start with Saturday.
Yes, we are.
And the reason is because as we record this on Sunday, April 23rd, yesterday, the 22nd, was the Mississippi Music Awards.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were blessed with the opportunity to pack our shit up, go to this event, and record interviews as the Rhythm Section Podcast. So it was quite amazing. All right, shut up. And we'll get into somewhat of the details on how that happened. But it was a hell of a day. What do you say, Jeff?
Amazing day. We got there before noon to get all of our stuff set up and get ready for interviews that were supposed to start at 3:00.
Yeah. So
and they did.
Yep. So there was a red carpet.
Yep.
And we were positioned at the end of the red carpet. So they would finish it instead of turning around like they were supposed to go back to the show.
Right.
A select group were actually chosen for us.
Right.
We were given an itinerary, and the producers we were working with, which I'll be thanking here in a second, it gave us a list of artists that they would like. Do you have time? They're all nominees,
right?
So I'm like, line them up. We'll be there. Line them up. We kept it simple. Just a clip-on lapel for the guests. And they hooked us up with a great schedule.
Yeah.
They gave me all their links, so I was able to do good research on these people. And the goal was no more than 5 minutes per episode, per interview. Per talk. And I'm here to tell you, in 90 minutes, we fit 18 interviews. 18 different artists will be featured and spotlighted on this podcast at some point. We have tons of editing to do. And we're going to start working through all that stuff to start pushing that stuff out, which is really cool. Yeah,
it was a great day. Everybody was so kind and just we enjoyed meeting all these wonderful musicians. Just great. Amazing.
And then there was a special moment right in the middle of that 90 minutes. So let's get to the point and then I guess give the backstory. But me and Jeff were double blessed with the opportunity to sit down and record a 4-minute interview with Ricky Medlock from Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Yeah, and if you're a musician, I don't think I have to tell you who that is, but for those of you who maybe aren't musicians and you're just casual watchers of the podcast because you love music, that guy's a legend. He is a guitar player for Lynyrd Skynyrd, and he was in a band called Blackfoot.
He founded Blackfoot.
Yeah. And honestly, I think there's a debate, which I think he put to rest yesterday, but he's an original member of Lynyrd Skynyrd as well.
Drums.
Yeah.
So and he helped write songs. He did some tracking with them. So the Ricky Medlock we know in Lynyrd Skynyrd is technically his second run.
Right.
He was there early on, split, did Blackfoot, and then in the late 90s jumped back with Lynyrd Skynyrd, who's been with him ever since.
Yep.
And kicking ass. So, all right. So let me start thanking people.
Yeah.
And this will lead into how the hell we got Ricky in here. But
first of all, thanks, Ricky. You're talking about him. We might as well thank him. We really enjoyed sitting down with you, man. And we want to do it again.
My God. Yes. He was on my list to thank, so he's going to get another thank you. But
okay.
First, it starts with Chad Wicker. Chad Wicker is one of our aldermen down here in Hernando, Ward 4, which this studio sits in. And Chuck and another fellow alderman, Ben Piper, work with me in the studio. I help produce a podcast for them called The Boardroom, where they update Hernando on the happenings, of things that are coming up and things that are being voted on the board.
Right.
So I've built a relationship with these guys. They're buddies of mine. So Chad was like, hey, man, you need to meet a guy. His name is TJ Cates. Sorry, TJ Cates. And I'm like, okay, great. And I look him up and he's got a record label in Nashville, a small indie label in Nashville. He's been a producer of television shows. He's worked for TMZ. He's some, I don't want to say planning commission, but something of that ilk in Horn Lake now. And he's the head producer and host of the Mississippi Music Awards for the Mississippi Music Foundation. So I'm like, I got to get this guy in my studio.
Yeah.
So for weeks, trying to track him down and get him in the studio, he was always so nice and responsive.
Yeah.
He always texted back. So I felt comfortable bugging him every week. And to the point where I was like, hey, man, you're not going to shake me.
Right.
Like, you come into my studio. And he's like, oh, man, he'd laugh. But I'm doing this. And the next week, he's doing something else crazy. Right. Well, then one week, I text him. And he's like, hey, man, I'm busy today. But yes, down the road. But this is what I'm doing today. And he takes a picture of the Landers Center lit LED, screen on the highway. And it was the Mississippi Music Awards. And I'm like, wow, you're a part of that? And he's like, yeah. And it was literally like this. He's like, yes, I'm the producer. And would you like to have a press booth?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Like, holy shit, that chasing down paid off in a big way.
Sure.
So then quickly his wife, Jill Cates, was the co-producer with him. And quickly she connected with me. And she was the one that really just helped dial everything in for us, and with that list of artists and the times. And it was just just fascinating to be there. Right. We were the only thing there like that. There was a gentleman that did live streaming at the end of the ribbon cutting. And of course, there was all kinds of videography going on in the show.
Right.
But then over here in the corner, it's me and Jeff. And we had tables and presentation, our branding was forward facing and it looked really pro. And Alex, if you want to throw up that picture, that would be awesome. So it was a good time. So TJ and Jill, thank you
very much.
And the Mississippi Music Foundation, all of you, thank you for having us.
Yes.
Dave Young. Okay, now we're getting closer to the Ricky deal. So Dave Young is an alderman in Horn Lake. Jill forwarded me to him and says, let's talk about trying to get Ricky on the podcast. Talk to this gentleman, Dave Young.
Right.
So we connect. Great guy. He loves this podcast. Like once he really saw what was going on, he was 100% on board presenting this to Ricky.
Awesome.
He's the barrier.
Right.
So you just can't call up Ricky Medlock and be like, hey, you want to join the podcast?
Right.
We learned that this is the dude to talk to. So, you know, he asked questions. He's like, okay, well, what is all this? And when I laid it all out for him, he was like, no brainer. He's like, I'll get this taken care of. I'm not sure when he'll be coming in, but we'll do everything we can to get him to your table. I know he'll want to do it. And sure enough, I think it was just a little after 4:00. You want to tell the story what happened?
No, you can do it.
Well, no, I just talked a lot. Go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah. So we were sitting there and we're in the middle of an interview. And the door to my left opens and out comes, I believe the first guy I saw was the guy that was in charge of security.
Come to find out, the first guy we saw was Dave Young.
Okay.
I just didn't know what he looked like yet. I had only talked to him on the phone.
And then behind him, I think, was the security guy.
Yeah.
And then behind him, out walks this man with the shades and the long, you know what Ricky looks like.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And yeah, there it is. The air kind of left the hallway. It kind of, time just sort of seemed to stop.
It was
for me
a little awestruck. I was a little awestricken.
Yeah, it was, Jimmy Phelps got this funny thing he does where I almost said, hey, you remember that time when you were with Blackfoot? No, I didn't geek out. I kept my composure. And but Ricky, he walks over to the table looking at all of our...
Totally interrupts us.
Yeah.
I mean, he did, but it was hilarious. He just rolls up, hey, gentlemen. Of course, we're like shaking his hand.
We didn't care. Thank you for coming by. And he was gracious enough to wait a couple of minutes while we finished the interview that we had.
Yeah, and then we let him cut the line.
We weren't going to ask Ricky Medlock, please go to the back of the line, sir. No, he got to go. And I think all the musicians standing there waiting to talk to us were absolutely fine with that because they were real interested to hear what this guy had to say too.
Of course.
So it was amazing. It was awesome. Ricky, thank you so much for talking to us.
He gave us 3 to 4 solid minutes. Man, he just came to talk.
We could have talked to him for hours. I mean, I hated that we had to limit it to 3 or 4 minutes, but that was just the situation we were in.
Yeah.
But in the future, I fully intend to get a lot more time with him in the studio.
You know how much I hate pre-promoting stuff a little too early.
Yeah, and I'm not. I'm just saying that's what we would like.
Well, no, I'm setting it up where I'm gonna cross my own line here, because I'm pretty confident now the way the relationships we built yesterday, especially with Dave Young, he's the one that suggested it. He's like, hey, why don't we figure out a way to get him to your studio so you can do a real one with them? I'm like, sure.
Yeah. They'll make it happen. And we're looking forward to it.
I think I'm down with that. So okay. A few more. Mama Darlene was there entertaining everyone.
Yeah.
And then Brooke and Andrea, my team members, I had a crew there. So it was 4 of us total. Me, Jeff. Andrea, I've talked about in the past. Right. She's my field assistant. She handles the lights, cameras, and backdrop and all that stuff. So she killed it. And then Brooke is a new addition to the team. She's sales, marketing, a mixture of all that. And I had her come to this so she can just hang out. She's brand new. She had just met you for the first time.
Right.
And that way she could see how it all works. And because we're doing more of this in the future. Way down the road in September, SRP Studios as a whole is going to have a booth at the Hernando Water Tower Fest and the Rhythm Section podcast, the Real Hernando podcast, all represented, so. And
there's an award show in August. We don't know for sure, so I'm not going to say exactly what it is. It's not local. It's out of town. There's a good chance we're going to be doing remote there.
And we got to talk about May 8th, right?
Oh, yes.
So let me
sure.
So, and then my last thank you is you, Jeff.
Oh man, thank you.
For real.
It was a lot of work.
It was, and you have patience with me when on days like that, similar to my ribbon cutting,
right?
I'm in tunnel vision, you know, and
I get it.
I get my OCD really shines bright, and I need to kind of paint my vision.
Yeah,
and it's awesome, you know.
Yeah.
You know, everyone was really patient.
No, look, it was a day of work.
Yeah,
but it went off. You can't say without a hitch, but it went off very well.
Yeah. Producer's note.
Yeah.
When you leave the studio, make sure you remember SD cards and camera chargers.
Those help.
Yeah. So that was a little bit of hell. Should have been there earlier. So I don't like, if I'm 10 minutes early, I'm anxious.
Right.
Like I'm an early guy. So when I realized I had to then go from South Haven back to the studio in Hernando to get SD cards, every red light, every stop sign, every blue hair driving was just
right.
My anxiety was like
in your way
at 12, right? So then I get back, and then 30 minutes later, we realize camera charges, no more. So I sent Andrea that time.
Yeah.
So because it was like she literally showed up 5 minutes before we started recording.
Yeah.
That was really rough to get through. But well, so again, TJ, Jill, thanks for having us, Mississippi Music Foundation. And I was wrong. There was one last thank you. All the artists.
Yeah, we don't have every name in front of us. There were 18.
Yeah.
But every one of you guys is appreciated. We thank you for giving us your time, and we hope in some small way that this helps you.
Every single one of you will be spotlighted on our platforms very soon.
Yes.
All right, Jeff, let's talk about May 8th.
Okay. May the 8th, I have decided to start doing once a month watch parties for the podcast. And Joseph Michael at Sidecar Memphis was gracious enough to give us his facility to do that. The first one will be May 8th.
Mm-hmm.
That will be what we have decided to call the Sweet Pear episode.
That's what me and Jeff think of ourselves as a sweet pear.
That's actually Sean Few's episode. You will learn what sweet pear means. It's hilarious.
So I saw your post.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, that sounds cool.
Yep.
I received the announcement just like everybody else.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I got to keep you on your toes, man. That's not true.
But then you told me rather quickly, hey, Sidecar Memphis, they stepped up. So thank you, Sidecar Memphis.
For sure.
They just raised their hand and offered it to us. So
well, I sent him a PM to ask if it's something he would be willing to do. And he said, yeah, let's give it a shot.
Awesome. And 7 p.m. you said?
7 to 9.
Yeah.
I believe they close at 9
on
Mondays.
Okay.
And we are doing this to start out once a month. It will be the second Monday of every month.
Yes.
So mark your calendars. If Derek and I are the only two there, I'm going to be a little pissed off.
Well, we've already done 2. We did one at your place for Jimmy Phelps episode.
Right.
And then we went to next week.
Right.
The next week after that, we went to Jimmy and Donna's to watch the Fever Tree episode. So they've all been really cool, and just it's surprising that people are showing up to watch this stuff, and it's incredibly uncomfortable for me because in this intro, my gums are flapping the most, and I just hear my voice echoing through a big house with strangers watching. So now I can't wait for this to happen in a bar.
Yeah,
but I'll get through that, So it's exciting. I'm all about it.
You guys, you'll see more and more posts about this on Facebook. Sidecar's going to promote it. I'm going to promote it. And we just love to see a lot of people there.
And tell you what, me and Jeff, if you guys bring it, and we have 2, maybe 3 really strong ones, and we realize that this is something that we can really build from, then we will absolutely think of a way to film an episode.
Yeah.
On location.
For sure.
We've done it twice now.
You may be picked out of the audience to do an interview, and you haven't got a clue what the hell's going on.
It could be friends coming up.
Yeah.
Jimmy sits up for 5 minutes. Yeah. We get to feature Sean. It's his episode, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fun stuff we can do, and I'm more confident saying this right now because we have done it twice. We filmed in Fever Tree's rehearsal space, and we just did this very unique, like, not only did we film on location at the Landers Center, but we had to do this very bizarre project where 18 artists in 90 minutes. It was so bizarre. So, okay, man, I know this is a long one, y'all, but I mean, think about it. It's Ricky Medlock and Music Awards, and you know we got to talk about this stuff. But okay, now let's go in reverse order to Friday.
Friday evening, Thump Daddy at Dan McGinnis South Haven. I've known about Thump Daddy for years, and this is the first time I've been out to see them live.
Likewise.
I'm ashamed to say, but it takes time sometimes. And so we did it. Yep. We had a blast. I want to mention all these guys by name, and it's like a basketball team or something. They don't have a 4-piece band. So Greg Verrett, Michael McClenny, Paul Moreau, Joey Valdez, Tom Slagle, Charlene Metlock, and Steve Rodheim.
Do you know where they're all from?
I'm not even going there. I know Greg. I've known Greg the longest out of any of those guys. I met him when he moved here at an open mic night. Mm-hmm. He was telling me what his vision was and what kind of band he wanted to have. And by damn, he did it.
He did it well.
Yep.
I mean, they come in with so much gear. It's amazing. They have a cool drum riser with a truss mount in the back. So the drummer has Michael, right? Drummer?
Yep. Michael McClenny, drummer.
Dude. Killer.
He's a great
player.
Yep.
His snare drum just sounds different.
It was a great snare sound. The whole kit sounded great.
Yeah. And the tone is in the fingers and the hands too. So there's a certain sound he delivers.
Right.
It's really good. So we had a great time, and sure enough, because some of them already knew you, and we start hanging out, and they asked us to sit in.
Well, I got through the door and saw Greg, and I think he said hi, and the next thing he said was, "You're sitting in." Mm-hmm. And I was like, I didn't bring any in-ears. I don't think that's going to work. But we did a song that didn't require a click or tracks.
Tennessee Whiskey.
And man.
So I can't shake country, but
hey, that's become kind of a standard.
Yeah.
And it's fun to play, and people love it.
It is cool.
The dance floor gets packed.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. It was a great time. Thank you guys for having us up to play.
Yep.
We love you, and keep doing what you're doing. We weren't able to make it the next night for Rock the Boat for obvious reasons. We were tired.
Yeah.
It was a long day.
Oh, yesterday, Saturday, the Music Awards. I mean, I didn't breathe from 8:30 a.m. until about 5:30 p.m. Like I just couldn't breathe. I was just so anxious.
Yeah.
But yes, for me too. Thank you to everyone in Thump Daddy for having me up there, and just so cool meeting you all. So, all right, guys.
Kory freaking Myers.
Yes. So that was exciting. We recorded this interview probably, a month ago or so.
Yeah.
Very gracious and fun and nice, and it was a really good time.
Yeah. Fantastic interview. Lots of fun. He brought his wife, Mary. We just had a great time, and I've known Kory for a long time. I met him years ago when he was with a little cover band here called Tom, Dick, and Harry, which we do discuss in the interview. But currently he is playing for somebody you may not have heard of.
Tom Kiefer.
Yeah, Tom Kiefer. Cinderella. Yeah. That's a dream gig. We've got so many amazing musicians in this town that are doing it nationally.
I know. And then when they're home, a lot of these guys play together, so
we get the benefit.
We get Kory Myers and John Roth.
Yeah, they do an acoustic duo thing on a regular basis, which is fantastic to see.
Anyone that doesn't know, John Roth plays with Starship and Winger.
A couple of other underachieving bands nobody's ever heard of.
So so we like we said, we go through those bands and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
We go all over.
Talk about Fifth Kind when. Yeah. That was an amazing lineup of musicians, and Pete Mandillo was involved in that early on. And then when Pete left the band, Jimmy Folk took his place. So there's been some of the best drummers we have in this town have played in that band, and just great musicians.
Unfortunately, they disbanded before I could catch them.
Yeah,
they were doing their thing while I was living out here, just never made it out, and then too late.
Well, there's a little bit of a push. mainly from me, to get Tom, Dick, and Harry to do another show. So if John's listening, Scott Trammell's listening, Kory is listening, Ted Parton, Jeff said so.
No
So
pressure.
Let's get it done.
No pressure, but let's get it done.
Let's do it.
Wow. Thanks for sitting with us, everybody. We just, we can't stress enough how much we appreciate y'all watching and listening and engaging. It's outstanding. And because of that, it's increasing our reach. And because of that reach, people like TJ and Jill Cates invite us to the Mississippi Music Foundation Award Show. That doesn't happen if we don't have an audience and we don't, have some presence. And we absolutely do, thanks to you.
If this keeps up, Donna Fulp, I could actually have David Coverdale in here. It might happen.
Wow. That would be amazing. But
or Doug Aldrich, we'll settle for either.
6 p.m. Central, everybody. Every Monday, 6 p.m. Central.
Yes.
YouTube and Facebook is our full-length video. Monday mornings, our audio presentations across all platforms. We got a link tree. Click that. That will take you to all of our locations. Subscribe to our tip jar, $1 a month. Click the Patreon link for more info. Shirts, hats, coffee mugs, and tumblers. Shirts, hats, coffee mugs, and tumblers. 131 West Commerce Street at Boba Cream. Go check it out, and let's do this, Jeff.
Yeah, man. Check out our friend, Kory Myers.
Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Well, Kory Myers, thanks for being here today, man.
My
This
pleasure.
is great to meet you.
My pleasure.
I've heard a lot about you. I've seen you online a lot, and hear about you through Jeff. But now it's great to have you in here. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great
Yeah.
advocate.
Yeah, I've known you since Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Yes. Been a long time.
Been a minute.
Yeah.
When was that?
You have to answer that question.
Well, Tom, Dick, and Harry came into, was created back in early mid-90s. Really, I think about 94. But there was a point there where you were as diehard of a fan and a student with Scotty, which I thought was fantastic. You spent and developed that much time with him. Every week, Scotty'd come in. They'd spend time in the chair, and that was for a good few years. We did that, I think. Wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how I stumbled across Tom, Dick, and Harry. I think I just went out to a local club one night, and you guys happened to be playing.
Typically,
And the first guy I recognized was Scotty from the Roxy Blue days.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I noticed you and John and Teddy and just phenomenal musicians, great band. And
John Roth.
John Roth was a guitar player.
Yeah.
And man, I was
so that was the Ted era.
It was the Ted era.
Yeah, Tom, Dick, and Harry broke down into bass player eras. Basically, is how it came about. Oddly enough, the first bass player for Tom, Dick, and Harry was Gary Davenport. Everybody knew him as Scruff, who came in the market at the same time Pete Mandillo did. And spent a significant amount of time down at Beale Street doing the Alfred's thing. Lost Boys developed into that. And then the casinos came into the marketplace, and that kept Gary very busy down there. And he did that for quite a handful of years. David Lansing was a pretty big fixture for a while for us for about 4 years. So the recipe was it was Scotty T, myself, and John Roth, and that was what was Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Right.
But we always had a bass player that would again play 3-4 years maybe.
Yeah.
And we had a few. And we always had a great one. Teddy was fantastic.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It
was awesome.
Yeah, we were always blessed with having guys that, Teddy was an amazing monster player. You look at Dave Lansing, he was a great player, but his vocals brought everything to a whole nother level too.
Yeah.
So
I hear that about myself a lot.
What? That your vocals?
Yeah.
bring it to a whole nother level.
You hear
don't they?
the exact opposite
That's
about
right.
your vocals.
Right.
If you like a drunk Muppet, that's what I can sound
How
like.
about it?
Yeah,
I love
right.
it. Yeah, they'll make a character out of you before it's over with. I like it.
So, what do you remember? What year Tom, Dick, and Harry ceased?
It just kind of fizzled, I think, more than anything. I was working in a band called Driving South back in the early 90s.
Okay.
And John and I and Scotty all met at that time. John and Scott were a part of a band called Raspberry Jam.
I remember that name.
Yeah, really integrated in the original music scene. Driving South was one of those front runners that did a lot of that same thing. So we played a lot of shows with Scott and John, be it Raspberry Jam, could have been a Jimmy Jameson gig. We would do Poor Reds or something like that. And so it got tight. And John and I back in, I think, 92, maybe the spring of 93, started doing acoustic duo gigs. And that's really where our relationship musically took off, and we started doing that. We were known as the guys with hair to their butts, just the two guys with long hair. And then we brought Scotty in, and it was truly a trio for a while. He was playing percussion cat and a few things like that. And then it was time to step it up and go into something a little heavier and bring electric into the place. We hired a bass player at that point, but that's when it started. So 92, 93, I think is when all that started.
Where did you grow up?
Midwest. Yeah,
what part?
Midwest guy. Moline, Illinois.
Illinois.
Illinois. Yeah. I was, I want to say I was probably just a little over 20 years old. Two people on MTV kind of drove my car to Memphis. Vital Signs was out in my graduating year. So Jimmy Jameson at that point was, to me, in my top two. He and Paul Rogers, Lou Graham, bring them all in as far as vocals go. And then there was this other cat on MTV at that time, Jimmy Davis, and Junction had a song out called "Kick the Wall." I'm like, oh man, it's killer. I'm moving to Memphis.
And so by this time, you decided you wanted to pursue music. Were you a musician by this time? And
yeah, they were sneaking me in and out of bars about 15, out, in and out the back playing club gigs and whatnot. But, it's a small market up there. We did the group that I work with, we did a lot of big things in a small market. And so it was time to try to do something different. And I really didn't know where I wanted to go. But again, music itself, MTV was, like I said, Kick the Wall was a big deciding factor. So I threw everything I could possibly get in my Ford Escort, something like Festiva, Ford Festiva. Everything I could get in there.
That's next level. That's like Wayne's World and the Gremlin.
Hey, I had an AMC Pacer at one time, and we may have to edit that later down the road. But I'm all hip to extravagant vehicles. But so I got everything I could get in my car, and I drove to Memphis, and lo and behold, Jimmy Davis was playing acoustic duo gigs with Tommy Burrows at a place called Gonzalez and Gertrude's on the Square, and I kind of worked my way into that network a little bit, and had an opportunity to meet. And I did a little writing with even Jimmy Davis back years and years ago. Just huge respect, and thought, wow, what a voice coming out of that guy. And then, of course, Jimmy Jameson. So I knew I was in the right spot. And
so Memphis was really a spot. It was on the radar big time, wasn't it? If you discovered how cool Memphis, the scene was in Memphis through MTV is what I'm trying to spit out. That's really cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I like to drive straight, so it was pretty much a straight shot down 55 all the way to Memphis and back, so I could never get lost or I was homesick.
Now, were you playing keys all that time, or have you always done keys and guitar and mixture?
I started out probably playing keys. Bass is really, quite frankly, my favorite instrument to perform with a band, but I wanted to be a vocalist more than I wanted anything. And you take your hat off to people like Sting that can play an alternate bass line against a melody line and whatnot. Yeah, so I realized real quick, wow, if I want to sing and continue to sing, I may need to adapt into something else. So I started playing a little bit of guitar at that point. Just kind of self-taught off, what I knew about the piano at that point. Came down here, and I found myself 3 months later doing solo acoustic gigs with a piano and or a guitar, and just singing my way.
And that was early 90s or late 80s?
That was probably 90, right there at 90.
Right at 90.
Yeah, and I fell in quick. So I met some folks quick. I met John real quick. I met Scotty real quick, and that really networked me in. Driving South did a lot to welcome me into a lot of musicians and the players within the marketplace. And that was at a point, too, when live music was something that people really were vested in the market. And it wasn't just a few select venues. I mean, they really tried to look at that in a lot of places. And so that was a great opening door opportunity for me with Driving South and those guys.
You and John have been working together for a long time.
Absolutely. We've grown old together.
Wow, that's awesome, though. That's really cool.
Don't tell John that.
Right.
He's not old.
Right.
I was just at Lafayette's last week, and I saw a picture of you and John up in the
Those are old pictures
on the LAD.
Yeah, right. Yes, you're exactly right.
And now that I meet you in person, 20 years younger in the picture. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, you would think so, though, for real, especially when you see God on a Sunday morning, right? Yeah. It is morning still, I think.
Yeah, it's 3:10 p.m., so yeah, it's pretty early.
Yeah. John and I have had a great relationship. I'm very blessed. I was able to play with some of my best friends. Scotty T is truly one of my dearest, closest friends. John is a best friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really what kept Tom, Dick, and Harry happening all that time. Drama never got in the way. No, we just went to work. We put on a good show, and we did what the club owners, I think, expected of us and put people there. So it kept us busy.
Yeah, following you guys in Tom, Dick, and Harry showed me early on what it meant to treat a band as a business. Because you guys were all business. I mean, you were having fun, but you all had your job. Yeah. Everybody came in, set up, did their job, played the gig. When it was time to go, everybody had their job to help get things back out and be done and go home.
Amen.
And nobody stood around watching the other guys do anything. Mm-hmm. You guys had a system. And it worked.
We knew that John would be giving a clinic before the night was over to some up and coming guitar player, but we didn't want to snuff that. I mean, we were as pro everybody else getting in the middle of the music scene. So absolutely, you mentor or commandeer anybody you want at this point. We'll get the stuff in the gear, and we'll see you tomorrow night for the next gig. So
he started playing for Winger early '90s, right?
Yeah, right there when he and I started playing acoustic. He was brought in. The Pool Tour was his first tour out, and that's been. My Lord, that's been 92
or 3.
93.
And
that's awesome.
I got married in 93.
Okay, sure.
So that was when I kind of dropped out of the music scene radar for a while.
Yeah.
Which I hate, but hey, I still got Susan, so something good came out of it. But so I took a lot of years off, and when I ran into you guys was when Susan and I were like, well, let's get back out and start seeing bands and checking the scene out again. And so I missed a lot of John's early tenure with Winger, but I've since gone back and looked at all of it, and it's pretty awesome.
Well, you couldn't have found a better fit for that band, and the Cliff Notes version of that is Scotty T, while cutting with Roxy Blue on Geffen out in California, was having a bite of lunch with, I think it was Thaler. I think it was with Top Rock. But he had Kip on the other line looking for a guitar player and frustrated that he just had been through a handful. And Kip said, we can't find a guy. Thaler shared that with Scotty T, who said, I got the guy. And he goes, I know you think it's BS, but I got the guy.
That's awesome.
And they flew him out, and it was John's gig. And it made sense. I mean, he's
30 years later, still out there.
And by far one of the most amazing people you could ever share a stage with, or just to have an opportunity to watch play live, honestly.
Have you ever asked John, like, hey, can you ask Kip if he needs keys? Did you ever do that?
Yeah. Well,
Is he looking to go 5-piece?
Right. They're actually out doing 5-piece. Paul Taylor, who's
back with them for a while.
He's been back and bringing some keys back into it. But so even then it was, it was a great opportunity to work with guys like John and Scott, which just honed my skills. I mean, you don't do anything to make it better when you start playing with guys that are that elevated, I think.
Well, and we're going to get to your current status as this interview goes on, because you've stepped up to some pretty big stuff too.
Oh, man, yeah.
But I want to talk about Fifth Kind.
Okay, cool.
Because as far as I know, that was what followed Tom, Dick, and Harry for you.
You're right.
And that was originally you, John, Carrie Bedour, Pete Mandillo.
Yep.
And who am I missing?
Jeff Adams. Yeah,
yes.
and actually, and not to correct anything on the chronological on that, but Fifth Kind, Jeff Adams asked me into that band. I did a short stint with a band called the Dirt Brothers in town.
I remember the Dirt
Tony
Brothers.
Meharry was a drummer at that point. Jeff Adams was playing bass.
Yep.
John was this just bigger than life voice fronting the band.
Yeah.
And Jeff Adams asked me into that. And that was probably reminiscent off of what we did in Driving South, which was very Southern rock oriented. And Jeff was our front guy. A couple volleys with Warner Brothers. I mean, that band was as close to any band doing a record and having a deal and never actually getting a chance to do any of that. But it was also, created with some super talented guys in the marketplace, and the songwriting was good. But anyway,
right.
So yeah, Jeff, my relationship with Jeff, then he said, hey, we need to add a guy back into what it was Fifth Kind at that time, which was actually Keith Blanchard, Chris Gavin, if you remember Chris Gavin from Dust to Life, all that, Burning Blue back in the day.
Okay.
So, and Kory was yes, he was the keyboard player, Pete Mandel on drums, and Jeff came to me and he said, man, would you want to, Chris Gavin stepping away from Fifth Kind, would you want to do that? And I said, man, yeah, you want me to play utility, keys, guitar, whatever. He goes, Kory Badur's playing keys. And I said, sign me up.
Right.
Because how many times you get to go to work and try and steal something every time you leave?
Yeah.
Not physically, not a pen or a piece of paper, but intellectually. I just said, wow, what an amazing player. And I got to watch him up close and personal for a long time. So.
And Susan and I followed Fifth Kind for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I know at some point Pete Mandillo stepped down.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Falk came in to play drums.
Amen.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
But what a great band. And we've been so blessed in this area to have that level of talent. People don't understand that national touring musicians in Memphis are just playing a little weekend gig, and we get to see that front row, and it's almost like going to the FedEx Forum to see a show,
It is eye-opening for me to see the level of musicianship in Memphis, even though I've lived here for over 10 years. When you start going out and start meeting people like this podcast has done for us, it's like, man, this place is a hot spot.
It is.
It really
the
is.
the whole city is just absolutely packed full of amazing, talented people. Yeah. Somebody threw something up on Facebook not long ago and said, who's the best bass player in Memphis? And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right.
It's hard to say.
You couldn't. And if you had to get them all in one room, you'd probably have to be in a church or an institution big enough to house them, because there's just so many great cats in town.
Yeah.
And I think we're all fortunate because of it.
For sure.
To say the least.
For sure. So Fifth Kind, I haven't seen anything from them in a while. Is that done, or is there any chance we're going to see something else from
Man,
Fifth Kind?
if you had a crystal ball, you could probably make some money on the side on this one, I bet you. Who knows? I think everybody in that band loved the band. We loved the musicianship. We loved the people we were playing with.
Sure.
Just challenging from a scheduling standpoint.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Everybody's got something else going on, and traveling all the time. So we'll see. But I think that the forecast for that band would be, I'd like to come back and do something a little bit bigger than being the Wednesday night back at your local water and hole.
I understand.
And you would do the weeknight because mostly you guys would travel on the weekends.
We always had to, and we were fortunate for that. So we could play a Wednesday night to a full house, I think.
Sure.
Just because, because everybody's flying out on a Thursday or getting on a bus on a Wednesday night or whatever it was.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff Adams is the bass player for Starship now.
Yeah,
right? And so then John does double duty between Starship and Ringer.
He does.
Right?
He does. Yeah.
Man, so it's
And now you are playing with Tom Kiefer.
I am,
from Cinderella. From my high school days, just played that stuff over and over and over.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my wife was very moved. I think I got a hunch that a Cinderella poster probably dawned the wall of her bedroom at one point or something. But we'll keep that to us.
Yeah.
So how did this come to be?
Yeah.
Through the same exact circles, oddly enough. John, of course, having been with Winger at that time, and even at that point, he was already working with Starship for some unfortunate reasons, but John was asked in, and it just makes sense. He's an amazing guitar player, and he can cover any band. So as long as he can cover the schedule, then he's in good shape. What was I saying about that?
About Kiefer, like how that came to be.
Okay, forgive me. Yeah, so John had mentioned to me Paul Taylor, the original keyboard player / guitar player for Winger. Paul had been working and playing keys with Tom and Cinderella.
Okay,
yeah, so he was out and he did. Tom had done some Cinderella tours throughout, maybe for 3 months every year, perhaps every other year or whatnot. But Paul was a part of that. Right. And Paul, you talk about an amazing songwriter, very, very, very well published. So I think his workload got to the point where he's like, I'm considering stepping back from Tom Kiefer at that point and focusing a little more on his writing and studio stuff.
Right.
And so, I asked John, he said, hey, man, is that cat you play with in Memphis that's the utility guys? He looking for a gig. And John said, man, I'll bounce something off him. Well, fast forward a year and a half later, and I'm at Farm Rock up in Nashville with Scotty. He's playing with the Wonder Twins, Matt and Gunnar Nelson. And
the Wonder Twins.
Yeah. And I'm just hanging out with Scotty, just enjoying the day, actually. And Scotty was on the bill to play a little later that night, but I looked over and Paul Taylor was standing there. So I walked over and introduced myself. And I said, hey, I'm the guy, John had mentioned me to you and vice versa, but I just want to put a face with the name, much like we did here. And so it was very short after that. We lined up an audition, and Paul was ready to step away. But Paul was so cool because, and you would get this for anybody that knows Tom, which is that he's somebody you take care of. He took care of Paul. He takes care of us. You would never leave a person like that without an exit plan and somebody to step in. And so Paul was, so genuine and so kind and was so helpful in directing what he felt like was going to need to be seen at the audition and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the other 23 hours in the day. That's the hang. And so that was a big part of, I think, the whole time I spent up there in Nashville when Tom said, do you want to join my band? And I said,
and you said, man, I'm too busy. I don't think I can fit you in.
I can't swing it. Right. I can't get it in.
I got a Wednesday at Dan McGinnis. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
But, so what year are we talking?
I started with Tom in 2016.
I didn't know it had been that long.
Yep. 2016. Awesome. Yeah, man.
So
it's been a good run.
You mentioned that he was doing Cinderella too. Does he still own Cinderella and he just kind of shelved it and he just goes by Tom? So he just tours as Tom solo now, or?
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be one to talk specifics about what was or was not involved in that.
Right.
My understanding is from 35,000 feet, which today it's simply that Jeff LaBar is no longer with us, which is tragic in itself. So that happening in its own right.
Sure.
It just can't happen. But Tom really became more and more comfortable. I mean, he's got just a wall of music around him now with the 6 people on stage.
Yeah.
And with him as the 7th. So, I think that just kind of weaned itself off. And while you've seen many as solo artists come away from bigger bands from the 80s and 90s and whatnot, I think a lot of them found that it was really stinking hard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like Tom will tell you, he goes, man, some of our first gigs were playing to 200 people in a corner
starting
bar.
over.
Yeah.
Starting over.
People, the festival buyers, they want the logo.
They want the original guys. They want the logo. They want this. All the things that'll drive.
The logo looks better on a banner, even if the only original member is a drummer or something.
Yeah. You're exactly right.
But then you get the lead singer that's having trouble getting booked.
That's pretty hard to comprehend. Tom Kiefer starting over.
It is.
That's hard to even fathom. Because I saw Cinderella at Mud Island.
Yeah.
What a great show, and the place was packed. But it was in the heyday.
Yeah.
That's
right.
And times have changed, but it's awesome to see you guys doing what you're doing because it looks like things are just crazy. And
man, it's a wall of sound coming off that stage. It really is.
And I know I want to talk about the Graceland show.
Okay.
I didn't get to make it to that show, unfortunately, but I also know coming up in the near future, there's a Ryman Auditorium show.
Bucket list, yeah.
We want to plug that, and
Amen.
I'm probably thinking you and I are going to take a road trip.
Yeah,
go see that.
It sounds like we need to.
Yeah,
because I just saw Blackberry Smoke at the Ryman.
Love Blackberry Smoke.
And I saw me too. And then before that, it was a weird one-off little, offside project for Keith Urban. I saw him do a little trio thing there, but. Blackberry Smoke was the first time I've heard a really big band in there, and that place just sounds great. I'm sure you guys are going to.
Well, it's supposed to be the church with, for a myriad of different reasons. But even if you didn't amplify anything, you were supposed to be able to perform in there to a significant level, I think. But it's a bucket list place. It's kind of like the Whiskey, you know. First time we were walking into the Whiskey,
That's bucket list.
Yeah. Sure. Tony turns around, Tony, the guitar player with Tom, Tony Higbee, and he looks around and he goes, man, are you ready for this bucket list, right? I go, dude, fist bump.
Right.
And then you go in and you hit the wall and you do all the things that, you might think are a little hokey, but the truth of the matter is you're just really blessed and going, wow, I can't believe I'm actually getting a chance to do this.
You know who Chris Shiflett is? He's the lead guitar player for Foo Fighters.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
And he has a little solo thing, and he opened Blackberry Smoke, and this guy has played the world over. Foo Fighters have toured the world for years, never played the Ryman, and made it very clear to the audience how special it was for him.
Wow.
Soaking it in. Sure. You know, the guy that's that worldly and been toured for decades.
Yeah.
Never played the Ryman. Yeah. Finally got his opportunity.
I love the fact that they're branching in, other genres of music and starting to incorporate that in there. And so they've been doing that now for a couple of years. It looks like they're
for sure,
fairly regular with it. But for us, that's a big thing. It kind of makes it a hometown show for most of what is Tom Kiefer's band.
Right.
I'm the lone guy that's out of market, coming in from Memphis, but it's close enough. I'm just a short drive down 40, right?
For sure. I've done it.
Yeah.
So, and you're playing with Winger, right?
Yeah, Winger's the entire tour. I say that, forgive me. The front leg of our tour this year is going to be out with Winger.
But they're doing Ryman with you as well.
Yes.
So now you and John, not in the same band, but still get to have this experience together. Is it his first too?
Yeah, I think so, man. I think so. Probably so. Yeah. He, and oddly enough, since 16 and the shows that I've done with Tom at this point, I've only gotten to do one show with John and Winger. I've done a couple of different Winger shows where he had to sub that given a conflict with Mickey Thomas. But it was actually the third show I ever played with Tom was a bill we had with Winger in Tucson. And I decided just to go, the shower rooms were in the same hotel that Winger was staying in that night. Right. So we go back to the hotel, the crew's jumped off, everybody's taking showers, and we got some downtime. So I said, John, we'll catch you in the lobby. And we just sat there and caught up for a little while and whatnot. Both looking around and said, man, it's getting a little late, and I can see taillights. I'm not even kidding you. Taillights going down the road out of the hotel parking lot. And I said, holy crap, dude.
Was that your bus?
Dude, and I'm not even kidding you. I was around in the corner coming out of the parking lot, and the driver clearly saw me, and that was my third gig out. So I could have been oil spotted right out of the gate, man.
Were they hazing maybe? They noticed that you were hanging back?
Man, our TM at that time said, man, you almost blew my perfect record. I've never left a guy anywhere. But I'm kind of the guy that's quick to get in the bunk and call it a night. You know what I'm saying? So
they just assumed you were.
He said somebody swore they saw me walk by. Didn't do a head count.
The few times we've done the bus thing, you always want to check.
Yeah,
the last thing you need.
That's right, exactly right.
You
don't want to leave anybody.
Right, and of course it's the one time that you're like, I got to use the restroom, but I'm not going to bring my phone. I'm going to leave it on the bus, and then that's the time.
Cardinal sin,
right. And no one's phone numbers.
Right. Well, and to make matters worse, that night in Tucson, my phone had completely DOA died. The battery was gone. The only phone that I would have had any idea to dial would be my wife's, and I would say, call Tom or call Tony or call my tour manager at the time, and she wouldn't have those. So the first thing I did the next day was call her and give her the list of everybody's numbers of anybody in the camp. Oh, yes, exactly.
The only thing that could have made that story better is if you'd actually missed the bus.
Right.
Makes me think, of course, Almost Famous, the classics.
How about it? Absolutely.
I'm only the lead singer.
Right. Exactly right.
So Graceland.
Yeah.
I know that had to be awesome playing in front of the home crowd.
Loved it.
I know there had to have been tons of people there that you knew personally that were supporting you.
Yeah.
Tell us about that show and how it went.
Everything everything you think it is. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it or say any different. And you can't be aloof about it. It was great. Yeah. You see your dear friends and your, neighbors, everybody out there. We had family come in for it. My mother enjoyed going to a sound check that afternoon.
That's great.
And that was probably the extent for her. But those opportunities we just don't get.
Right.
So
So all the years with Tom, that's the first time you played Memphis?
It was, oddly enough. He'd been asking me for a while. What's the best venue? If I come into Memphis, where do we need to go? And I said, I think Graceland Soundstage is a great start. The production is top notch.
Right.
The weather at that point, had we done that 1st of February thing, it limited you, minimized your opportunities. But and I talk highly of what they've done now out at the Bank Plus Amphitheater.
Yeah, I was just going to say, man, get back here during the summer and do a show there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to me would be dynamite.
Yeah.
To get that opportunity, I think it's probably one of the better outside sheds that I'm going to see all year long.
Right.
So.
It's funny. We talked about Blackberry Smoke. I've seen them twice, the Ryman and Graceland live.
Yeah.
You're just right behind them, man. You're just coming
Right. What a great band, though, man. And they work. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're probably over 240 shows a year, I think, or something.
Oh, they're nonstop. Yeah, they're nonstop.
Yeah.
No, they're great. But I just thought it was funny, these two venues. The ones that I've seen them at. But.
Now, do you guys have any legs on your tour where you're going to be doing several shows in a short span, or is it typically weekend gigs for you guys, or how are you planning that out?
We'll do 3 in a row and then take a day off. Okay. So just looking at our routing, and you can go to tomkeifer.com right now, and it'll show all the routes.
Yeah, you got dates coming up starting in June to see the shows.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that's what they posted thus far, inclusive of the Ryman, is what is the first leg, and I think we'll do a second leg, which our hope is, last year we did Sonic Slam with LA Guns and Faster Pussycat.
Okay.
And so we did the entire summer with those cats, which was great, but we did a bunch of Northeastern shows and Midwestern shows.
You'd break off and do your own things?
Everything we did predominantly was with the package. Okay. It was a pretty solid package. Gotcha. And man, what a great group of guys from both those camps to work with, but we never went west.
Yeah.
We went to, as far west was Texas, as far west as we went. So they didn't get to play Vegas. We didn't get to do the Sonic Slam in Vegas. We didn't take Sonic Slam out to the West Coast and do what we would traditionally do would be 2.5, 3 weeks out there, California bound at that point.
So you guys have nothing going on right now? You guys pretty slow during the winter?
I think so. We try to stay fairly regimented. Tom likes to book tours and not just salt and pepper throughout the year, and I think that's what the plan is. So, my guess is by within a month we'll probably have the back end of the dates. And again, I just kind of hope it works out that it incorporates more West Coast stuff. We're getting hammered a lot to go out there.
Yeah.
And it's just worked out that with Winger and John Corabi that this front leg we're all in, and we've done shows with Winger. It's a great it's a great lineup and a great bill.
I mean, most of the band's all original minus John, right? That says a lot when a band like that all these years is still hanging together.
It does. Absolutely. Yeah.
Unless they have a ton of patience for assholery, or they're pretty cool guys.
Right. I think Kip's man, he's the hardest working guy I've seen from my perspective.
And a composer, classical.
Right? It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy what he does. John and I did a run up to Nashville, just maybe last fall. Kip had another one of his pieces being performed by the Nashville Symphony.
Awesome.
And so there's a great to see. And it was cool to see the fact that, Reb and Rod Morgenstein, the other guys from his camp, came down for that performance as well. So I think that meant a lot to Kip. And those are the kind of things I think you need to continue to do just to bolster your brother in arms or your bandmate.
Well, it was several years ago that Winger played Little Rock. And John was kind enough to get me and Susan, we got to go backstage and meet the band after the show. And what an amazing experience that was.
Sure.
Being a Morgenstein fan for years.
Right.
He's just doesn't get any better.
And the nicest guy you'd ever meet.
They were all so super nice, you know. And you feel kind of strange when you're standing there because you don't want to geek out too bad.
Sure.
But you can't help it.
No.
I know I did, but I'm sure John was standing over there going, please don't say something stupid. No. Don't say anything stupid. And I'm sure I did, but it's okay.
They can feel your eyeballs burning into them.
It was a fun experience for sure. So,
absolutely.
What's the future hold for you? How long do you see the Kiefer thing going? Are you guys, you figure it's going to last several more years?
Well, Tom is singing. I mean, he's singing
just on top of it
better than he ever has since I've been with him, and that was already a step above. And Tom, hit the history with him, and a lot of the vocal challenges he had with the paresis on one side. I mean, I've never seen anybody more regimented, from his pre-show warm-ups to his post-show cool downs and everything else that he does. And so that's the train that's really going to pull this thing down the tracks. And I don't forecast anything lightening up anytime soon.
Awesome.
We released Rise in 19, and had some just fantastic response, a bunch of accolades and people crediting as one of the better heavy rock records of that year. But then, 2020 and COVID came around and we didn't get to support that record. So we've been spending the last year and a half gigging really still on the support of the Rise tour. And so now I think Tom's, talking, hopefully in fourth quarter, we'll probably start laying down some tracks for something new, maybe coming up in the future. So that tells me they're not going to tap the brakes anytime
That's awesome.
soon.
Well, where do you guys, does he have a favorite place that he likes to record, or is it just multiple different places that he's done throughout the years?
Wow, man. You know what? I've never been a part of a session that became the Rise record.
Okay.
Tom's wife, Savannah, was a very, very skilled songwriter, very successful songwriter. So they did so much of the writing between her and Tom. But what they would do is Tom would come in with these ideas in a room, and I'm not lying, probably not a whole lot bigger than this room. Right. I'm standing in the corner. I got something done this. Jared's tightened up with some, drums. And believe it or not, we actually walked out of that after a couple weeks of just playing with song ideas and kept drum tracks and kept some bass tracks.
Gotcha.
And so the arrangements came together at that point, and then we finished most of the recording at Tom's house.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Where's he live?
In Nashville.
In Nashville.
He's a
okay.
Nashville guy.
Oh, that's right. So that's why everyone else is pretty much based out of Nashville.
Everybody's up there but me. But I get to go see Scotty every time I have to go up there for business.
That's cool.
That is good.
Yeah. So I used to play in a band called Mackenzie's Mill that was based out of Nashville, and I knew that commute
very well.
Oh yeah, several years of just commuting back and forth.
Yeah.
I think our shows were probably a little different than your shows, but
a little bit.
Hey, a gig's a gig.
It was great. We used to do a lot of work at the Wild Horse, which was such a fun little 3.5 hour drive, stay at my friends, play the Wild Horse, come back. It was fun. It was worth the driving. So I know that I-40 back and forth, man.
Yeah. We bus out of there. I love a West Coast run because that's the only time they actually go west from Nashville, and I can just stand out on 40 with my thumb out in a bag and get picked up, and they'll slow down to 10 or 15 and throw me back out on the way back to Nashville. But it does save me that 3 hours going either way, which is great.
Yep. Done it. So what do you do while Tom's on the road? And I know you do some spot things with John. What else do you do?
Yeah. Man, I've had a job my entire life. I've got to work doing something. And I'm fortunate. I do a lot of the front office sales work for a company in town called Pro Show Systems. If you've been to any Live at the Garden show, you've seen us. That light, sound, video. That's what we do for Pro Show. Concert production, backline, audio, video, the whole 9 yards. So the beautiful thing is I sell that basically. And I can do that sitting in my office or sitting at home or sitting in the front lounge on the bus with a phone and a laptop.
So. Take it with you. That's awesome. Yeah.
Keep it happening.
Yeah, that's absolutely the way. Well, musicians' little side hustles when you can take the job with you, man.
And minimize your downtime. Tony runs the custom guitar shop for Guitar Center up there. His phone's pinging all day long. Cats, heavyweight cats wanting to spend a lot of money. Billy Mercer, freaking amazing, talented bass player, but he's a general contractor.
Yeah.
And so it's not uncommon to just be sitting there in the morning watching him etch out something for a new client. So he's got something to keep him busy. It's just a lot of time when you're out there. You need something.
What's Tom's day job?
Yes, exactly right. It's 2 cups of coffee, a bowl of oatmeal, it's regiment, and then start warm-ups and go out and just slay a room full of people.
And whatever works, because he's keeping everyone else employed.
Night after night, man, however we can support the boss. Yeah. Exactly right.
Anything we're leaving out you want to talk about?
Man, I just, I can't say enough about just everybody in that whole Kiefer camp.
Yeah.
Tony Higby's a guitar player. Tony and I grew up 30 minutes from one another up north in the Midwest. Had no idea until after I had been given the gig with the band.
Right.
He had made a Facebook post about a small town in our area, and I called him up and I said, dude, what are you talking about? And he said, such and such, Illinois. And I said, where are you from? And I'm like, oh my God, dude. So we actually, a couple years ago, we got to play the 40th birthday bash. Kiefer Band headlined the 40th anniversary bash of the radio station that Tony and I grew up listening to the entire time, 93X. Was that what it was? Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was kind of cool.
Small world.
It's a small world, man. But just a whole great group of people, man. Jared Pope on drums.
Yeah.
They're staying busy right now. They're working with Damon Johnson, Jared and Tony with Brother Kane. So they're out supporting him in that role and whatnot. So yeah, which is great.
By the time your episode drops, it's probably going to be closer to May. I'm just thinking out loud. So as far as anyone's hearing this, your tour is coming up.
Yeah.
You know,
sure. I get it.
So the dates I saw on your website start in June. Where's the first leg? What does this tour look like as far as dates and places?
Yeah, so it looks like we're staying a lot of northeastern stuff initially. Right out of the gate, we're going to Buckhead, Atlanta. That was one of our stops last year on Sonic Slam with both LA Guns and Pastor Pussycat. We're spending some time up in New York, up in that. Philly's a big area for Tom, as you can imagine, just coming from all of that.
So, because he's from that area.
Absolutely. So we, Ohio, we seem to play somewhere in the state of Ohio, but man, you talk about crazy rock lovers up there. Yeah. So go back all you can get and give them all they want. And
do you guys do Midwest like Minnesota and Wisconsin?
Absolutely. Yeah, we did Hinckley Rockfest last year.
Hinckley. I've done the Grand Casino in Hinckley.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you and I are like kindred spirits.
I think we are. Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. So we do a bunch of that, man.
If you guys get a chance, play Hog Rock.
Oh God,
Hog Rock.
That was one. We'll talk about that off the air.
Fair enough.
Hopefully, Rocco Walls from Fever Tree heard that. It's a funny story. But
what a band, Fever Tree, man! Those guys are amazing, killing it.
Yeah, they're good friends of ours now too. I'm glad to say I can be considered a friend from them. Right, that's pretty cool.
Without question, absolutely. What a great.
They're fun guys. They've all the only band that's every member's been on this show now.
Great. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
we featured a couple songs for them, and they've invited us into the studio to watch them track. They brought us up on stage one night at Neil's to
I love it. Are they tracking back at Supernova? Yep. Are they back? Okay. Yep. And you can't go wrong with that either. You know what I'm saying? Man. You got David Kyle.
They got a few guitars.
Matt's got a small stash.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. He's got a small stash.
When you go in the actual tracking room for drums, it's a maze walking around. It's like drums in a corner with microphones, and then the rest is just guitars and amps.
Yeah, how about it?
If you're a gear nerd, you'll just stand there.
And now Matt's making his own amps and pedals.
So
I've seen that.
Yeah, I think he bestowed
some high-end boutique stuff too that I'm guessing is getting a lot of good reviews.
Yeah, I'll have to ask John. You'll have to have him on your show and ask him. He's I know Matt gave him a couple different pedals. He was really excited about letting him put in his arsenal. So.
I've been in touch with John, and he says he's going to do it, but he's just a little busy. The guy's got a schedule from hell.
Yeah.
So as soon as he can work around
priorities,
we'll have him in here.
Priorities.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
You can skip a winger gig, John, and come in the studio.
Right.
My mom, she's like, when I talked about Kip Winger, the connection with John, and just when this whole podcast really started, I told her how many degrees removed we are.
Yeah.
And just Memphis in general.
Yeah.
So when I told her the whole Winger thing, she's like, if you get anyone that looks like Kip Winger in that studio, I want a job. Like, I need to be doing something in that studio.
How about it? Yeah.
So if I tell her John's in, I'm like, we're just 1 degree removed.
Yeah. And, John's a good looking dude, man. Yeah. So, you may bring her in anyway. Yeah. You know what you could do? You could bring her in and just tell her that that's Kip. See how far that goes with John.
Yeah, right. That'd be funny.
What the heck? Actually, I get mistaken for Tom's guitar player all the time. I mentioned Tony Higbee.
You guys do resemble one another.
It's silly.
I've seen the photos on Facebook, and I have to do a double take. Which one's Kory?
Right. So, absolutely. In fact, I think the record is I was in a 22-minute conversation with a guy after a show one night talking about plexis and vintage greenbacks and whatnot. And I finally looked at him and I said, "Man, I'm not the guitar player, right?" And he called me a liar. He said, "You're a liar." Actually, you know what?
He didn't want to own up. He didn't want to own up. He was embarrassed.
His mistake.
He was embarrassed. This became part of my arsenal for any after show conversations.
That's funny.
It's a guitar pick. It says, "I'm not the guitar player."
That's great.
Just in case. I told him I could ruin his entire reputation if people just believed I was Tony the entire time. But
that's priceless.
But yeah, that was helpful.
All the years I was in the casino circuit, I'd always get like, "You're in the band, right?" So yeah, I was in the band that was in front of you for 5 hours.
Right.
Yes.
So what instrument did you play?
Bass.
Okay. Yeah. So Scotty T tells a great story. He has somebody else you'd love to get in here.
Oh, for sure.
You talk about a history and the most talented guy I've ever been close to. I mean, he's truly the most talented. But Tom, Dick, and Harry gigs, you know, he goes to the back, gets a glass of water or a Diet Coke on a break, and he's standing back there, and somebody walks up inevitably every time and goes, man, have you ever heard these guys before? Scott goes, man, that's cool. It's
They're
whatever,
right.
you know, but they have no ideas with the band. So it's sad. They just never got the attention that it deserved.
Well, hopefully he never had that moment where someone was crapping on the bass player of the band.
Right. Or have somebody come up. I've had somebody actually came up to me one time in Tom, Dick, and Harry and said, man, if you guys ever want to hire a keyboard player, man, let me know.
Oh, man.
And so.
Stinger.
Yeah.
Damn.
I got it covered. It's okay.
For now. For now, anyway.
Yeah. You're like, if it happens, I know someone.
Right. Sadly, clubs want to pay you by how many people are on stage. So, you know, at that point, it was either get a rubber doll or maybe talk to this guy about air keys. I don't know, whatever it took to up the money, right?
Well, man, you certainly figured out early on how to be sought after, because you are not just a keyboard player or just a guitar player or just a singer. You do it all. And that's why I'm sure that's got a lot to do with why you have been so successful and so sought after. But everything you do it great. Earlier you mentioned playing guitar in Fifth Kind. You're not just a rhythm guitar player. You play. I mean, you can smoke a guitar.
It's smoke and mirrors is what it is.
Dude. That's the smoke part.
That's right.
You're a hell of a player.
Well, consummate utility. Thank you, and I sincerely appreciate that. Utility is to me a great opportunity to get to a lot of different things.
It is.
So it's fun.
And commodity. I mean, any band in Nashville, they get a good, like the more country stuff. You get someone that can sing, acoustic, piano, and throw up a mandolin.
That's right.
Yeah. It's crazy. They work forever.
That's right. Tommy Burrows is a godsend in Nashville because there's nothing with a string on it that he can't make.
Right. Yeah. So they just surround themselves on the stage with instruments and they just pick up what they need.
Exactly right.
That's a valuable person.
Yeah. When are you going to take up steel guitar?
Man, I'll tell you what. Eric Lewis. Here's the funny thing. There's so many things in this life now that I wish I'd done earlier, and I want to go back and do. I wish I played saxophone. I've just always wanted to play horn. I want to. From a utility standpoint, it's another one that's great to put in the arsenal.
Absolutely.
And Tom has even said, man, you know, pick it up, learn it, and you play the sax solo in Shelter from now on. You know, that kind of thing. But Eric Lewis from Son of Slam.
Okay.
Way back in the rap, everything else. Right? And Eric now is he's an accomplished lap steel or steel guitar or you name it.
Right.
He's banjo. I think he's actually done as well. But just he's amazing in that realm.
Right.
But he was also the guy who was slinging hair at Rascals till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And he lived downstairs from me in the first apartment I had when I moved to town. And so I knew him enough to know that from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m, he's downstairs playing mandolin and lap steel. Mm-hmm. And it's only after hours that he's shredding a Gibson Les Paul and, you know, Son of Slam and whatnot.
No one knew.
No one knew, but it's been that long ago. So I don't see lap steel coming to fruition anytime in my future.
I don't know him personally, but I know I saw Son of Slam at Rascals on multiple occasions.
Absolutely.
So that was a great place to hang out.
Oh, yes.
So did you hear where this came from? Mm-mm. This intro was done by Sean Few and Jimmy Folk.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Fat.
Yeah. They gifted it to us.
That's awesome.
To be when Sean came to you first, and then you asked us if we would be willing to use his song. I was like, absolutely. This is the coolest. Now we have a cool theme song, but it's homegrown, right?
I love it. And you got, I mean, if you had Jimmy do it, you know it's going to be done the right way. Yep. Mm-hmm. Sean sings his fanny off.
Yeah.
Man, all those guys do, though.
And there's a version of this with lyrics that Sean sang. It was originally done for some TV show that they were going to
be a theme music for
on Spike TV.
Yeah.
And the show got canned.
Fell through, whatever.
So they just kind of had it shelved, and when they saw the podcast, they said, hey, you want to use this?
I love it.
Well, hell yeah, I want to use it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No, it was cool.
Do you ring a bell and pay him a little royalty every
No.
time you do that?
I told him I'd give him a T-shirt.
That's nice. I like it. Yeah, right.
Those are both for Jimmy. Sorry, Sean.
All right. Yeah, right. That's right.
Well, before we say bye to Kory here, let's address the audience a little bit, Jeff.
All right.
And again, remind them where we can be found, please.
YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple. please go to YouTube and check out the video portion. We stream the audio in the mornings on Mondays, but the video comes out at 6 p.m. Central on Mondays. And if you go to YouTube, it helps support the podcast because it is monetized and it helps us out. So,
we're making tens of cents per video. It's amazing.
Nice.
But hey, it's something, right?
Amen.
And while you're doing that, go to Patreon.
Yeah.
Right? That will give us $1 a month from you. If you're willing to spare that $12 a year, that's definitely helpful for us. And then that link tree will take you everywhere. Everything that we're talking about, that's your hub. Go there, check it out. Maybe at some point we might have some merch intertwined
Dig that.
with that.
Yeah.
We're working on ways to get our merch out there too. So, but man, Kory, thanks for doing this. It was really nice meeting you and having you just jump up in here like this.
Another band that I certainly plan on having every member in is Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Oh, I love it.
So I got to get John in here, and then I got to get Teddy P. That was my era of Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Yeah, that was a good one, man.
And I know I saw David Schatzberger played with you guys as well after Teddy. I would love to get David in here, and
get to work, man.
And Scotty T. Got to get Scotty in here. I followed Scotty.
You got to get Scotty off the couch.
Well, I don't see Scotty on social media anymore, so maybe I need to get you to reach out to him for me.
You got it. I'll make it happen. He's stealthy.
Well, you only have us booked through August, Jeff, so you better get on this. Slacker over here.
Right, yeah, he's sleeping at the wheel.
Well, awesome. Again, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with the Kiefer band.
Thank you, brother.
That is a dream for so many people that musicians who would love to do that. I think we're going to make that trip.
We might have to do that.
Because I hate that we missed the one that was here local, so we're going to go take a road trip.
I love it.
All right, Jeff. Thanks buddy.
Absolutely.
Take care, guys.
See ya.